Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. It's now story time with Gina, and we are going to talk about the Goatman. Now I might have done a video a while back, but it's been quite a while concerning the Goatman of Maryland. I'm trying to get my tablet on so I can see the comments, you all. Let me do it. We can do it. Gina, are we going to do it? We're going to do it, you all. Let me get myself situated. We're going to do it. That's right. Put this right here. Get this set up. And if you live in Maryland, I'm sure you have heard about that Goatman. You know, when I think about it, what if there was some genetic, taking one species and doing something like half man, half goat. Now you have like Pan the Piper. Let me get over here. Hold on one moment, you all. We just keep on talking because Goatman, whether you believe in Goatman or not, whether you believe that Goatman is a myth, make believe, or that it really is real, it's all right. We're going to read up on it, see what we can find on the Goatman himself. I got to try to get myself situated over here on this YouTube. Let me do it. I'm going to do it. I got the Goatman. We got you all on here. Boom, we did it. We did it. That's right. Hello there, Applebrooks, honey. Thank you for those hearts flying up the screen. Hello, everyone. Hello, Danny Lovelet. Now we're going to get it. Hello, Justice. Hello, Carol. Hello, Jen S. Simon. Frank Cooper. Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm going to look at the Goatman. And that's right. We're going to read about it. We're going to read this one little thing right here to start off with. You can see that there is a lot of things written about the Goatman, the creature who is said to stalk the woods of Maryland. So let's come here. Look at this. Now we know who this looks like, but we're going to look at it. Goatman is an urban legend. According to urban legend, Goatman is a creature resembling a goat-human hybrid, often credited with canine deaths and purported to take refuge in the woods of Prince George County, Maryland, in the United States. That does look like Pan. Let's see if we can find Pan. If you're just tuning in, we're going to look at the Goatman sightings. Let me look at this. See if I can pull it up. All right, we got one right here. We got Pan in mythology. Now you could look at Pan and say that Pan is also a Goatman, a large and rare mask of a Greek god Pan. Oh, I didn't know he was a Greek god. I really didn't. Pan, the Greek god. See, he's a goat man. He's got goat feet, but a human body and a goat face. Now, with what they're doing today, I don't think it would be too far-fetched at all to think that they're still here. I don't think that they went extinct or died out. I'm thinking I went to a museum in Maryland. Not Maryland. It was at the Indianapolis Museum. I'm thinking at one time at that museum or some museum, there was a statue of the Goatman. This looks like it's an older one, but you can find that it can be found. So chances are what, Gina? Chances are that Goatman really did exist and really does exist. And where there's one, you know that there's not just one, there's more Goatmen. Let's come over here and look at this because it's really nice. It is nice. Urban legend. The woman dies. This woman dies while searching for half Goatman. The Goatman, mysterious creatures. The demonic Goatman's bridge. Now, how can they automatically say that it's demonic, really? How could they? But, you know, we do have a tendency to do stuff like that. That's okay. Let's look at this. The creature who is said to stalk the woods of Maryland. right here. Been seen for decades in Maryland and Texas. So this is great if you're all just tuning in. Boom, we've got it. Half man and half goat. The mysterious beast known as the Goatman is said to stalk the forest and lurk beneath bridges, waiting for the next victim in his murderous rampage. Well, listen to the tone of this already, you all. They're writing this from a really bad tone. It is. They each have their tales. At face value, the Goatman isn't all that different from the cryptozoological urban legends. A mythical half-man, half-goat, the Goatman's name has been used to instill fear in locals for decades. Well, you can see by this article, the way it's written, it's loaded with fear. Right there. Fear. The words that are used. Okay. We're going to do it. And like many urban legends, the Goatman's origins are muddy, with multiple variations of the tale, some involving dangerous scientific experiments, which would not be surprising at all. It really wouldn't. Others claiming that he was a vengeful goat farmer. Even the region in which the story originated is up for debate. While the Goatman has supposedly been seen in the woods of Maryland, folk in Alton, Texas seems to have as much claim to the story as their East Coast counterparts. Some argue that there are, in fact, two Goatmen who share little more than a name. We have the American mythology, legends that are frightening. This one right here. First spotted in 1957. If you're just tuning in, we're going to read a little bit about the Goatman, that half man, half goat. When some people claim to have seen this giant in 1957, a hairy monster, I don't really like the tone. I don't like the tone of that at all. I do not like that tone. Let's see if we can find one that is not so not so full of strong negative words, because that one really is, and it doesn't vibrate with my frequency at all. I want to find a better one. Let's do this. Only in your state. Now maybe this might be a little bit more pleasant. Yeah. Giant, huh? Moses had horns. I thought I heard about that too, Frank. Was that you, Frank? Oh, Danny Lovett? Yeah. The urban legend in Maryland that will keep you awake at night. Well, it's fun to imagine some of the state's urban legends to be true. Others would be downright horrifying if they came to life. If you haven't heard of the mythical Goatman in Maryland, then sit back, relax, and prepare for one of the most unusual tales unimaginable. Right there, we got it, you all. This might be pleasant for us, you all. I really do not like reading an article that has a lot of very strong descriptive words that lean more to the scary side, the fear side. No, you can explain it better without that. According to the local legend, there was once a scientist working at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, and his job included experimenting with animal DNA. Well, I think I can agree with that. Can you all agree with that? That some scientists do experiment with DNA and animal DNA. They do. One day, an experiment went horribly wrong when goat DNA became in contact with the scientist's blood. The man mutated into a horrifying half-goat, half-man with a craving thirst for blood. Half-man, half-goat. Remember that the three billy goats gruff? Weren't they the ones that had something to do with the bridge? Now we got this bridge right here. Yeah. For decades, it has been said that the creature roams parts of Beltsville and Bowie at night. Bowie, Maryland, and Beltsville, seeking humans to devour. Oh no, this is his weapon is an actual. This sounds barbaric. His stalking grounds are said to be from Fletchertown Road to Governor's Bridge Road. Those feeling brave will park their vehicle near the bridge at night and turn off all the lights, seeing if they can stop the elusive Goatman. Hello there, J. Jocelyn, honey. Oh, that looks pretty right there. A nice little road. The figure has become Maryland's Bigfoot. Every few years, someone claims to caught an image of Goatman wandering around on the side of the road. Oh, look, so we got some pretty, water with some stuff. The area around the Governor Bridge is certainly creepy enough that one could envision a Goatman skulking among the trees, and it's not the kind of place one would like to find themselves at night. If you're going to look for the Goatman, know that Governor Bridge is temporarily closed, but you never know. He might still be lurking nearby. That bridge is temporarily closed. That's interesting. Wow, you all. So, what happened? That was a really short story. How short that was. That is not... No. Let's do this. Okay, we might find something better. We can try this right here. Let's try this one. Who is the Goatman? Because I don't want to read something really scary. Who is Goatman? 5 things to know about the urban legend. Tensions are high. Now that the word has gotten out that Goatman, the hero we don't need, but probably deserve, has been spotted alive and as menacing as ever. Are you like us and you want to know more about this urban legend? Click through to learn the 5 facts. Goatman may be roaming the United States again, looking for lost hikers and unsuspecting teens as snacks. The urban legend, first reportedly seen in 1957, has allegedly been seen in 3 states recently: Texas, Wisconsin, and Kentucky. Before you vow to never visit any of those places and plan out a new living under your covers, read on to find more about the Goatman. Well, I wasn't aware of Wisconsin and Kentucky, but that's okay, you all. We can read it. We will. It's the Goatman. There's several variations of the Goatman's origin. He may be a supernatural beast like Bigfoot, or as some allege, the work of the devil himself. The strangest but most popular theory is that he was a result of an experiment gone horribly wrong. A scientist at the Beltsville Research Agricultural Center in Maryland allegedly attempted to mix his assistant's DNA with that of a goat, and the rest was gruesome, murderous history. What happens at the, thank you, Justice, at the Beltsville Research Agricultural Center? Let's see what happens there, you all, because this is be really experiments with animals. Let's see this. See what they got on here. Agricultural. Oh, it's a remote sensing laboratory, animal parasitic disease laboratory, adaptive cropping system, environmental microbial food safety, animal genomics and improvement laboratory, animal bioscience and biotechnology laboratory, bee research laboratory, well, and germ plasm laboratory. So it looks like they would be into animal genomes. So it very well, that could really be true, since they do stuff like that. Wow. Biological Research Center. Solid waste generated at the bark included manure, waste bedding, animal carcasses, vegetative cuttings. It looks like they got themselves in trouble. Let's see how they got themselves in trouble. Gina, we're reading about the Goatman. Yes, we are. We really are. Site location, site history. In 1910, it was a 475-acre farm. In order to conduct agricultural research, it was expanded to a maximum of 12,000 acres and now 6,600 acres. The research at Bark involves soil, water, air, plant sciences, animal sciences, commodity conversion and delivery, and human nutrition. They've done research on pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, fungicides. On-site laboratories are equipped with numerous chemicals, solvents, cleaners, low-level radioactive chemicals for laboratory studies. Solid wastes generated at Bark include manure, waste bedding, animal carcasses, vegetative cuttings, wood, paper, scrap metal, laboratory waste, construction debris, pesticide, herbicide, insecticide, fungicide-derived wastes. So they've got this stuff, you know, beaver dam, current status. They got landfill. Okay, so it's a real place. It wouldn't be surprising if that happened. It really would not. Let me try to get back over here. That was one of the theories. He attempted to mix it. What does Goatman look like? The Goatman legend varies from state to state, but the one thing is for certain. It's a contents. His strange, grotesque demeanor. He's described as a goat humanoid hybrid with matted, greasy fur on a human-like torso and an oddly shaped furry face featuring huge horns and pointed ears. He walks on two legs, except their cloven hooves. He doesn't speak, but his roar is described as a scream only the devil himself could make. Why are people afraid of the Goatman? Goatman has had a pretty bad rap sheet when it comes to human encounters. First seen in 1957 in Maryland, the creature allegedly terrorized couples trying to sneak into the lover's lane, teenagers out and about, and maybe even killed a little dog. And the next sighting was in 1962, and it ended with 14 hikers mysteriously dead. Police never reported what caused the strange circumstances of their deaths, leading many to believe that this was just more proof. So where does Goatman live currently? Let's go see. The creature allegedly been spotted by multiple eyewitnesses all over the country, including Texas, Wisconsin, and Kentucky. But he may still have his home base in Maryland, where he was first seen. In Prince George's County, Maryland, there is an old rusty bridge, the Governor's Bridge, where underneath he may have built his lair. Those who reported were done by Goatman in that area apparently got too close to the cave. So there's a cave there, underground systems. How old is Goatman? There are persisting theories that the modern-day Goatman could be a derivative of ancient mythological creatures like the Greek satyr, which was a creature not to be messed with, who sported many of the same goat-like features. The cheerier half-man, half-goat myth of Pan, who we looked at. So if you know more about this, okay, let's look at this. So I want to see the Greek satyr. If they had them back there, then you know that they have them now too. I don't think they really died off. There's no way they could have. So this is the satyr. Satyrs in mythology. What was the explanation in Greek mythology? More of these. Let's see. Morassus. Wow. Eva Weiderman, satire character. History of the mythological. And then, you know, we've got this right here. This right here. Let's see what else was there with the Goatman. Some said the Goatman kind of looked, if you would look at him, he'd kind of look like Bigfoot. If you look at this picture right here, it could even look like a bear. Who said that Moses had horns on his head? Because I really did hear that also. Moses had horns on his head in one of the things. Moses, horn on head. I remember hearing about that too. Okay, we got it. We come right over here to Moses. Right here, Moses, we mean no disrespect. Amy Schumer panned for that. That's not nice. The horns on Moses. Michelangelo's horned Moses. Why would they do that? See, that's artistic, literary, archaeological context. You know, what if the Mandela effect actually went back in time and put those on his head, on the physical objects and on all types of manuscripts, any type of thing that could be written? What if whatever caused that went back and rewrote history, just like they do in the Bible and just like they did with other things? What if this is one of the cases? It really could be one of the cases. It looked like him. Yeah. It kind of does look like him. Ezekiel 33:33. Moses, did the prophet really say? You all, we got to look at Ezekiel 33:33. We need to know if Moses had horns on his head. So what does Ezekiel say? Let's see. I want to see it. Moses with horns on his head. According to artwork seen across Europe, it certainly looks like he did. In this video, we will explore the reason why so many artists depicted Moses with horns on his head in their artwork. And part of the reason was to the differences in translations and Latin Vulgate. Let's see. The Latin Vulgate used the translation of horns instead of rays, so that's what it is. The Latin Vulgate wanted to say that Moses had horns on his head instead of the rays of light. Now, I can understand that. That they would say something like that. But they're going to provide an explanation as to why from other religions that may have influenced it. Let's see, you all, because this is really interesting right here. Why would they do that unless they deliberately did it? The Latin word was used for cornatum, which replaced the Hebrew word koron, like Quran. Cornatum means to grow horns, whereas the Hebrew word koron was associated to rays of lights. Perhaps there was a motive behind the mistranslation and the use of the word horns instead of the rays of light, considering the Roman Empire wasn't always promoting Christianity as the dominant religion. Maybe this error had more to do with the mystery religion that was used to be practiced in Rome and adherents who still remained in more modern times. Gina, honey, I thought you were talking about the Goatman with horns. Well, we are. But somehow somebody just wrote in the comment section that Moses had horns, and you know goats have horns. So we want to look into that. Why would they say that Moses had horns? Because it means he would be like some kind of goat or something. So we want to look into that, and it looks like they have translated, could have been on purpose, mistranslated rays of light as horns on his head, just to do it. Really, just to do it. Few people are aware that the names like Michelangelo and Da Vinci were involved in spiritual practices that go back to the ancient Iran, which at one time was known as Babylon. Michelangelo often followed the Hermetic principle of correspondent with the as is above, so is below theme hidden away in his artwork. Michelangelo, in his teens, also dissected the bodies from a church graveyard. Is this the reason why we can see the human anatomy hidden away in many different pieces of his artwork? Find the answers, you all, in the video of Moses with horns and see for yourself if it were a mistake or intentional that these artists depicted Moses with horns. That's That's quite telling. It's really telling. Look at this. Why is Moses pictured with horns? Dust off the Bible. Why would they do that? See, now here. Now this looks like rays of light is what this looks like right here. That doesn't look like horns to me. This is where Moses was Akhenaten. I can't say that word right. This is interesting. We're talking about the Goatman. Gina, are you talking about the Goatman? Yes, we're talking about the Goatman. And now they said Moses had horns like the Goatman, so we want to see what they were talking about. We really do, because it's not, you've got stained glass right here. It would be really hard in stained glass to put rays of light unless you put individual pieces of glass with lead connecting and dividing the pieces of glass. You could make a halo-like thing instead of this right here. This right here looks like, you know who this looks like? This looks like the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz with Dorothy and the Tin Man. It really does kind of look like that, which is quite interesting. The Vikings had horns on their helmets. Yes. Let's see what this one looks like. Okay, we've already looked at this right here. This would be some other type. We've got this up here. It doesn't look like horns, but it looks like something different. I don't know what that says. Ave Gratia Domi Benedicta something right there. The elites, esoteric symbols, the cult of Aton. Have you heard of the cult of Aton? I haven't, but even though we're supposed to be doing Pan, have you ever wondered why Michelangelo's famous Moses statue is depicted with horns? Well, I never knew it until, I don't know, a couple years ago. Never knew anything about it. Wouldn't give it a second thought. Not a second thought. He's got human eyes and a beard. Michelangelo was not the only one who put them on his head like that. Doesn't look like he really has any right there. Now this looks like rays of light coming from his head. This looks really, really different. Real different. Now you can clearly see the beams of light right here. You can see a slight horn on his head, whatever they want to do, these nodules on his head. This is wild, you all. Either it's deliberate or they just mistranslate it and it's deliberate, or there's more than meets the eye. I think there's the depiction of a horned Moses stems from the description of Moses' face as a cornuta, horned in the Latin Vulgate. The Roman Catholic Church translation of the passage found in Exodus chapter 34, specifically the verses 29, 30, and 35, in which Moses returns to the people after receiving the commandments for the second time. The Douay-Rheims Bible translate the Vulgate as, "And when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, he held the two tables of the testimony, and he knew not his face was horned from the conversation of the Lord." This was Jerome's effort to faithfully translate the difficult original Hebrew Masoretic Masoretic text, which uses the term Quran based on the root keren, which often means horn. The term is now interpreted to mean shining and or emitting rays. Look, just a little error in the translation, nothing to see here. The esoteric level for the horns tells another story, you all. Now we've gotten into Moses. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about this goat man with his horn on his head in Maryland, the sightings about him. And he's supposed to be going around getting hungry and, just eating flesh and blood. And somehow we ended up on Moses with the depiction of horns in his head, but he wasn't said to be a goat man. But they said he had horns in his head, so we wanted to look at the horns in Moses' head. And it looked like it was kind of deliberate on someone's behalf to put the horns in Moses' head. We're going to look at the esoteric level for the horns telling a story about Moses. So first you need to know the true identity of Moses was the Pharaoh Akhenaten. Somebody wrote that in the comment section. I've seen it. Akhenaten. The true identity of Moses was this one right here. Let's see what this says. The elite's esoteric symbols, the cult of Aten, part 1, Akhenaten, and Hyksos king. You got this right here, Messianic symbolism in the pyramid. We got the great big eye. We got this right here, obsolete. You got another one right here. We've got, this is the Sphinx in London. Why would London have a Sphinx? The Egyptian lion statue in Stockholm. Simple, clear origin. They were obsessed with Egypt and Egyptian symbols. The elite has a long history, and that history starts from the land of the pharaohs. Sigmund Freud. He was a twisted man in his writings. He really kind of was. I thought, oh my gosh, you sound really, the things that he said sounded really, I wouldn't, yeah. Moses and monotheism. Controversial. The identity of Moses was something completely different from what we can read from the Bible or the Torah. Freud's thesis claimed that the story of Moses was actually a cover-up story for the Pharaoh Akhenaten, the father figure of the world's first monotheistic religion, Atenism. Sigmund Freud's scholar, ruling elite and their cult of Aten. The cult had all the monotheistic religions, secret societies, royal dynasties, and various other branches of the network of power, and they control and originate from. So this is interesting. The Hyksos king. Aten was a sun god worshipped by the Hyksos kings, who were the rulers of Lower Egypt. They invaded the area of the Nile Delta around 1650 BC. The historical documented event in the Bible, but in cryptic form. The ruler of Hyksos, I can't say it. The shepherd kings were the true Jewish patriots. When the origin of the Jews is decrypted with the Hyksos key, it is easy to understand why the official version of Jewish history is so full of holes. Gina, honey, how on earth are you getting on Jewish history? You started with the goat man in Maryland, then you ended up with Moses and his horns in his head. Now you're talking about the Jewish history. How on earth are you getting over there? I have no idea. I'm just going with it. So the official version of the Jewish history is full of holes, and why there's so little historical evidence supporting the biblical story of Abraham and his descendants. No direct connections have been found between the abundant documentary evidence from the ancient Near East for the second millennium and the biblical narrative of Israel's ancestors and origins found in the first 7 books of the Bible. As a result, it is impossible to determine whether or not the individuals and the events described in the Bible existed, and if they did, when should they be dated? This is interesting, you all. This looks like around Israel. It does. The Israelite judges, the greatest high schools, the 15th dynasty, 14th, 15th side. But I thought we had a mud flood that destroyed everything, is what I thought. So how could we have some history that dates back to whatever? The native dynasty right here. See, it's over here. Ralph Ellis does not buy into the migration of Abraham and Sarah story. He believes that Abraham and Sarah did not come from Samaria into Egypt in the manner commonly described. He is like the great revolutionist, a revisionist. He believes that Abraham, from Abe-ram, meaning Ra, the father, was the first pharaoh of the Hyksos dynasty. It's a clever cover-up story to hide the true origins of the Jews and their ancestors' horrible crimes. The Hyksos were infamous for their looting, the pillaging, and murdering of the county they invaded. There's hardly anything their descendants would be proud of. They were not eager to emphasize their blood ties to the royal dynasties of Egypt for two main reasons. If they admitted to it openly, they would have only a short time to glow, since it would then come out that who they were, in fact, illegitimate invaders, marauders, pillagers, impostors who entered at a time in Egypt when Egypt was drowning in social chaos. If they admitted to being the Hyksos kings, they would admit being the infamous leper kings, so despised by the Egyptian natives. They would have to admit their looting and pillaging, and to the fact that they had inhabited the fertile Nile Delta for over 300 years and accomplished nothing of significance. They would have to admit that they were the renegades that were forcibly expelled by consensus by the public uprising against them. They would have to admit that, should the facts ever come out, that their Moses was the real-life Akhenaten, and had an incestuous relationship with his megalomaniacal foreign blood mother queen, Tyche. Wow. They were driven out of Egypt after the Civil War into Lower Egypt. They were able to defeat. This was not the end of the royals. 200 years later, their man was on the throne in Egypt again with the Pharaoh and his mother, their father of Egypt. You can read about Yah from the Bible. They have to understand the identity hidden under the code name Joseph, the dream analyst of Pharaoh. Yeah, I never read about any of this before. This sounds really wild. Good night, Penny, honey. This is so wild right here. Oh, my goodness. Amenhotep III and Akhenaten, identified as the prototype for the biblical Joseph. He was the richest man in the world after Pharaoh, who promoted him. He possessed many illustrious titles and awarded him the title of the father of a god, a title later passed to his son Ai, since his daughter Tyche was the mother of Akhenaten, the grandfather of the man who would become the most notorious pharaoh in Egypt's long history. The uncle of Akhenaten would also go on to be a major player in the story of the Antinous. Yuya and his wife, Tuya, were among the major educators and caretakers of the young Akhenaten. They were Israelites descended from the Hyksos people and were probably of the elite rank within the allegedly foreign race. This is probably the reason why Yuya bore the illustrious title father to a pharaoh, and it is believed that one of his wives, Asenath, was the daughter of the chief priest of the sun at Helopius. Yuya cleverly arranged matters so that his daughter Taya married Pharaoh Amenhotep and Tutmosis, who had first honored him and was descended from Jacob, an earlier Hyksos pharaoh. In the Bible, we are told that Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Hence, the Hyksos people can be known as the Israelites. It is really strange. This is really makes me wonder, you all. Is this wild to you? Yeah, Gina, it's really wild because you're not talking about the Goatman anymore. So that's really wild, Gina. Yeah. It is so wild. The god he worshipped let's see. Brainwashed by his grandfather, Akhenaten became a devoted worshiper of the sun god Aton. He was so obsessed with it that as pharaoh, he forbid the worship of any other deities. This religious reform was a monumental change in Egyptian society. Forbidding the worship of all other gods was an unprecedented change that shook the whole country. The god he worshipped was Aton, Adonai. Hey, that's a song. There's a lot of songs with the word Adonai, Christian songs. Being deranged, obsessed, megalomaniac, Akhenaten decided to do what no other previous pharaoh had thought to do alone. He forcibly abolished the worship of all other gods in Egypt and curtailed the financial support of the temples and priests. Apparently, it was his intention to forbid pantheism in favor of monotheism. I can't say it. But his concern was not, as had been insinuated by academic sycophants, to spiritualize the country. In effect, it was to despiritualize it. His demented concern was to have the God of his Levitical family be everyone's God. Few in Egypt shared his sentiments or thought that this was a good idea. He had support only from other members of his family, from henchmen and court guards, from foreign parts hired to protect him, and from certain Hyksos, sun priests at the Heliopolis, Avaris, and Memphis. These priests of the Delta solar cult appeared to have had a hand in electing the pompous king to his elevated but much misused body. So this is, you know what I was thinking when read this? He forcibly abolished the worship of all other gods in Egypt. It reminds me of the beast in the book of Revelation. And it says the whole world will worship the beast. And if you refuse to worship or receive his mark, you were put to death. Is that the same spirit that's coming in the book of Revelation as maybe the same spirit that was back here? Since this person did it. Because in the book of Revelation it says he will exalt himself above all other gods. All other gods. Behemoth. Yeah. And then there's something in the book of Revelation. There are those who claim to be Jews, but they are not. But they are of the synagogue of Satan. And it's like when Jesus was talking to whoever those people were, when he said, we are not illegitimate children. Abraham was our father. He said, no, if Abraham was your father, you would have done as he did. But as it is, you are about to kill me, a man who has done you no harm. He said, no, you are of your father, the devil. He was a murderer in the beginning, never holding to the truth. And when he speaks his native language. He is the father of lies. He said, no, you are of your father, the devil. The people who claim to be, descendants of Abraham, they got called out. They really did. The motives behind this change were not entirely religious. It was the priesthood of the rival sun cult of Amun, that the Antonists, led by Akhenaten, wanted to get rid of. This old Amunistic priesthood, based on ancient Druid traditions, had lots of power and influence in Egypt. They infiltrated it. That's what they did, totally infiltrated it. Something that the megalomaniac pharaoh couldn't stand. Akhenaten's forced monotheism stirred up a fierce resistance among the common Egyptians, and this resistance led up to a civil war between the Antonists and the Amunists. This kind of reminds me of the word Amish, but kind of, sort of. The latter won the war, and the end result was the expulsion of Akhenaten and the Antonists. It's the exile that we can read about in the Bible as the Exodus. The biblical story of the Israelites escaping from slavery in Egypt is nothing more than a propaganda cover-up story made by the descendants of the Antonists, who were kicked out of Egypt. It serves as a mask to hide the true origins of the Israelites and their true identity of Moses. The Israelites were not slaves. They did not escape heroically from the evil Pharaoh, which the Bible fails to name. They were the descendants of the High Coast people. They were the canine supporters and the followers of a cult of Aton, which brought nothing but chaos in Egypt. The Moses. Jews believe and state openly that Moses was the author of the Hebrew Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. He is also known to be the disseminator of the hidden oral tradition that eventually inspired the Babylonian Talmud. But as the great Sigmund Freud pointed out, and we reassert, Moses was Akhenaten. The Bible was not a Jewish tome, but an Egyptian one. This is the great secret that has been kept from the humankind for so long. The generations of alteration and re-editing by Josephus and Bacon and others have merely assisted in this truth being kept hidden. The hordes who attended Akhenaten and his court and who accompanied him after his exile were the Levites from the city of Avaris, Zon or Zion, and Amarna. The descendants of the High Coast kings had invaded the upper southern Egypt over 300 years before at the opening of the 13th dynasty. No, the Israelites were not the people accompanied by the Pharaoh. They were the Pharaoh and his immediate Egyptian courtier. Actually, the story of Exodus is most likely a combination of 2 similar events. The first expulsion of High Coast people from the lower Egypt by Ahomous the first, and the latter exile of Akhenaten and his supporters. Ralph Ellis explains in this video. Let me put this on here. I want to read about this right here. You want to watch the videos if you can even still have access to these videos. Even though, Gina, honey, you're supposed to be talking about the Goatman. Well, we ended up on Moses, sorry. And then we ended up on the Israelites and the Jews. And it's like, oh my gosh. Wow. Understanding who Moses really was and who the Israelites really were uncovers many secrets. It reveals the so-called Judaic religion is nothing more than the updated version of a cult of Aton. It reveals that Yahweh, Jehovah, is actually the sun god Aton. This can be easily understood just by looking at the name Adoni, which is the one of the Jews are allowed to say out loud instead of Yahweh. Oh, I did not know that. There's a pretty song that says, Yahweh, Yahweh. That's all I know. The rest of it is, yeah. They can't say Yahweh. They have to say Adonai, Adonai, out loud. Oh, look, there's the pyramid. Yahweh, the sun god. The Egyptian connections to the Israelites had been so obscured, and the name of God was a major stumbling block. So the preposterous story of Moses and the burning bush was concocted by the Jews themselves, who were fooled into the belief that it would be a scandalous irreverence to pronounce the ever so sacred name of Yahweh, which is Jehovah. The implication was that the Adonai, being common, simply meant our sun God, was purely connotative. It could be uttered, whereas the name of Jehovah could remain unspoken. In our reading of the issue, however, the situation is just reversed. Adonai was the sacred name of the God, cunningly hidden in plain sight. It was not the connotative, but denotative. It was denoted that Akhenaten, his sun god, Aton, and the Egyptian priesthood that worshipped the sun. It denoted that the Israelites and the Levites were the members of the same cult and the devotees of the same god. We are less likely to focus on the term Adon, once it is to be put before us as a mere convenience, a rhetorical device. We are more likely to focus on that which is said to refer to, that is, to this mystical and mystique-drenched Yahweh. Let us state now for the record that this is not the name Jehovah, that it is not the name Jehovah that is important, but that of Adonai, that is Aton. When it is understood, we can declare the identity of Yahweh problem solved. Judaic religion and Tananist religion, Christianity, another updated, same cult. The Christian symbolism is the sun. Look, you got the Pope with the sun. We got that. The sun. The Christian symbolism, the sun. It's a parody of the worship of the sun. Put a mankind in the sun and pay the adoration. They don't tell you the elite serves the exoteric version of the religion to keep the secrets of the esoterics to themselves. Oh, they have a long history, and their different institutions of power have different faces, like Judaism, Christianity, Vatican, Freemasonry, Jesus, Illuminati, royal families, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, United Nations, Bilderberg, Trilateral Commission, Council of Foreign Relations, etc. Behind the closed door, the men and women running the show are all a part of the same sun cult that originates from Egypt. They have ruled the world for a long time, and they have done a great job hiding it from the public. The symbolism use reveals how the dots got connected. The same motives go back into ancient Egypt and are used over and over again in plain sight. Well, I don't really like doing this, you all. I don't. This is not very nice. The Shriners. This is wild. Wow. That is wild. That is so wild, you all. I was talking about the Goatman. This is who we're supposed to be talking about right here. This Goatman. Not talking about Moses had horns on his head, and then the Israelites, and then the Jews, and then the Egyptians. And it is true that there's been a lot of history hidden, a whole lot. And it's not nice. It really isn't. But we know that the elite, they want to maintain power and control. And in the book of Revelation, you are to worship the beast, whoever that beast may be. And if you don't, they're going to put you to death. And you can't buy or sell unless you have the mark of that beast. It's just a ramped up version. It seems like. This is not nice. I don't like it. I really don't like hearing things like that. I don't. Well, Gina, how does that affect you? You believe in Jesus, and you believe in the power of prayer. I do. But it doesn't change what's inside my heart. It doesn't. It's what's inside my heart that matters. And if I believe that there is power in the name of Jesus, I'm going to use the name of Jesus. I'm going to pray in the name of Jesus. And I'm still going to pray because it's what's inside my heart right here. It is, regardless of the history that's behind it, regardless of whatever truth that comes out, it's right there. Right there that makes all the difference. Right inside there. And I can see why they would, my nose is itching. I could see why they would hide a history, if indeed they have hid the true history. And you can look at it from another point of view. They want to be able to have something physical for people to believe in. They do, to bring them hope. Nobody wants to live without hope. They don't. They do not. I don't want to live without hope. I don't. I want to have something to believe in. And it's okay. Gina, has your life been ruined since you went to church and you believe in Jesus and prayer? No, it hasn't. No. I'm a stronger person on the inside. I am. I've grown more spiritually, and it is a heart thing. It is a love thing right here, no matter what. My life, throughout my life, it didn't go into a downward spiral. My life kept going up like that, like many others, and it keeps going up. Keep growing in the spirit, and that's the goal. You keep growing in the spirit, regardless of what's out there. Yeah, that's right. Danny Lovett, it was a wild night with the Goatman, and that right there. Don't let it get to you, you all. Do not let it get to you. What was read. I mean, you can be aware of what is being said. It's information. It is. It's information, and you keep doing what you're doing. Keep on believing. Keep on hoping. Keep on praying. Keep on meditating. Keep on being positive. Okay, guard your heart. Put on that spiritual armor. Keep on doing it. There's a lot of things that are going to come out into the light, and that have continued to come out into the light. We just got to be strong on the inside, because what's happening, it's going to shake people down to their foundations. You're going to be finding out what type of foundation you've got, and you want a solid foundation that's going to stand the test of time itself. You do. And I think we're going to make it. I know we're going to make it as long as you stay true to yourself and as long as you stay centered right here in your heart with love. Let right here in the center, balance and peace. God is love, and love is the most powerful force on the face of the earth and the most powerful force out there anywhere. It's the highest frequency one could ever hope to achieve. Yeah. So I am going to go. Gina, we talked about Goatman. Yes, we did. And then we talked about Moses had horns on his head. And then we land to... somehow we ended up in Egypt. Ended up in Egypt, and the Israelites and the Jews and the Roman Catholic Church and the sun god and Akhenaten and all of that. It's all tied together, you all, in one big old twisted mess is what it is. That's okay. We'll keep going. So I am going to go, and with that being said, hello. That's wild. Hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello, from my heart to yours. Love you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you, moderators, and thank you all for your comments. Thank you to all the new members who have joined. Thank you all for subscribing to this channel and for watching. I didn't know we was going to end up there. I didn't. I just want to talk about the Goatman. That's it. But we had a little detour. That's okay. It's all right. Get back on track. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Love you.